backing on out, and here once again in the back, not to be diminished at all, are all of these shooter boys just kind of laying all the hurt into all of these troops. You can see it looks like just a lot of damage happening right now. All of these troops having to get the way, but nice covering the retreat right now. The Sentinel walks on in there with a big ground pound. You can see stunning basically the entire Ork army as he covers his retreat there, and having to go back, but things are not looking well for him right now. It looks like illonexxx is going to be threatening map control pretty soon here, but nicely you can see down here in the south, a 2nd Guardsman infantry squad was out there capping this victory point. Always important to just keep putting pressure on your opponent like that. The Mek Commander way on top of the game here as blinking right on in and just putting some firepower down. But again, these guys have some pretty reasonable cover, and he's kind of standing out in the open, so I'd expect them both to take a little bit of damage. And we do have another Chimera out on the field right now for cozNemOK. You can see the tank busters kind of firing a couple volleys, but really way too much firepower here. Going to have to get away. That's always the problem when you force your opponent to retreat with his entire army at the same time. He's going to come back at you with his entire army, probably in the same place. So here you can see that the Guardsmen lost that little bit of a skirmish here with the Mek Commander, losing a couple of units, having to get on out of here. And here we have, once again, the Ogryns just kind of leading the charge, showing their prowess at close combat. And it looks like the Storm Boys kind of charging on in, trying to help them out a little bit here. The Ogryns definitely just kind of slugging away at all of these guys. Shooter boys standing their ground, firing their weapons. You can see all these frag missiles pouring on in. The Lord General has been upgraded to have grenade launchers too, so just kind of a lot of support fire coming in here right now. And this poor Ogryn squad, oh god, he's taking a lot of casualties. One Ogryn left, he's going to have to retreat. Oh no, he's on fire and being chased by orcs with burners. Oh god, will this Ogryn make it home? Yes, I think he will. Go, run home. Run home to your gigantic mother, my Ogryn friend. Anyhow, he's going to get out of there in time. Meanwhile, the Slugger Boys just going to have to succumb to all of the suppressing fire right now from the Chimera and all of the Imperial Guard here. And it looks like the Ork player are going to have to get on out of the center for the time being. And once again, this one off-centered victory point is going to go to the Imperial Guard player. So, Chimera now charging in. Looks like putting a little bit of supporting fire here. And as you can see, it is still 1-1, and you know, he's just about to get 2-1 right now. So in terms of victory points, Mech Boy constantly be annoying. You can see just decap that point, capping the center point as well. So anytime you can get an advantage in victory points and just bleed your opponent out a little bit further, especially in games like this against skilled players who kind of know how this works, that's always a good advantage there. So. These Ogryns are now moving out. These are just a regular Ogryn squad. They no longer have their sergeant. They're going to have to go ahead and upgrade that. And just a good example here, you can see that the grenade launcher upgrade for the Lord General, by the way, grants him the move ability, which increases the speed of your infantry. So, ooh, nice little lucky shot there by the Weird Boy. But yeah, that point, in fact, the Lord General just has sort of upgrades that increase nearby infantry. That's kind of the mentality there. So it looks like the Ogryns are moving up here with a nice flank from the Imperial Guard. Could be potentially a two-pronged attack here. Oh, calling in yet again this creeping Basilisk fire just to kind of cover themselves. Looks like the Ogryn's going to have to retreat. He did get upgraded, by the way, with a 4th squad member there to have that Bonehead ability that allows them to just kind of charge on in. And you can see that artillery fire was a little bit better. It knocked back quite a few Ork units. And now we have just a regular old Slugger Boy and Mech Shooter Boys, sorry, are just kind of out here firing away at the Imperial Guard. Imperial Guard not going to gain control of that. They almost had it, but they're taking way too many casualties. And in the center here, you can see that the Tank Busters, oh, I don't know what, they're just kind of stumbling around at the moment here. Tank Busters taking a lot of fire from all these Imperial Guard, and the Sentinel's going to have to get on out of there. This Chimera doing a good job just kind of leading the charge, keeping these guys resupplied. It looks like these Shooter Boys are just capping this victory point once again. And the Mek Commander still being really annoying back here, just capping this victory point over and over and over again. So despite the fact that it looks like cozNemOK is all the way on his opponent's side of the field with a significant amount of troops, you can see War Stomping the ground once again. I always call it War Stomp, you know, it's ground pound, knocking back all of these troops. There's a Knob squad on the field right now. Despite the fact that he's all the way over here on this side of the field, it is 2-1 the Ork player. So 2-1 for ill-1. And here you have it. The Knob squad upgraded with the huge Hammers ability is just charging on in here, slugging away at all of these poor guardsmen. Huge Hammers gives them like a momentum ability where every time they get a hit, they get more damage to the next hit. So they just kind of keep going and going. You have to kind of break away from combat to keep that going. And these guys could really do a lot of damage to this Chimera. You know, it may be counterintuitive, but these guys with these huge hammers do tons and tons of damage to vehicles in close range. So thankfully, the Ogryn squad was there to kind of defer them a little bit. and a little bit of grenade fire and frag missile fire, enough to kind of get them running away. And now you can see the Ogrins are just kind of using their bonehead ability, just charging on in, trying to get a couple of models. Looks like they were able to get one of those knobs. Now putting some pressure on this weird boy. Meanwhile, on the left, still constantly recapping these points that are being grabbed. Some tank busters over there at the moment. And the Ogrins just kind of pouring on into the weird boy. Weird boy going to make it home, though. He's good to go. And now these Ogrins just kind of have to kind of waddle their way on out of here again. Taking a look up north, you can see that the mech boy was kind of caught trying to sneak around up here. We do have some heavy weapon squads out here right now. This is an interesting choice kind of late game. Heavy bolter teams on the field for the Imperial Guard. It definitely looks like now he's kind of... I think if I had to get into his head, he's trying to like be in here for the long game and wants to reinforce these positions once again. So you can see a nice little heavy weapons team here, upgraded with a sergeant, gives them this little entrench ability, making it hard for them to be suppressed and a few other things. So that's what that little bubble around those guys is. Meanwhile, the Lord Commander is now moving on up. You can see with his grenade launchers, taking a few pot shots here. But really, that's way too much fire for him. He's going to have to get the heck on out of there before he loses a model or takes too much damage. So meanwhile, good central strong positioning here. Looks like we do have a looted tank coming out on the battlefield right now for the Ork player. And meanwhile, it looks like perhaps the Imperial Guard getting yet another heavy weapons team. Taking a close look at this heavy weapons team is kind of telling. Note how he carries that heavy bolter slung across his back. This gives you a good appreciation for just regular old humans as opposed to like the godly Space Marines or other races where we've definitely seen people carry heavy bolters around in one hand in certain circumstances. So noticing that he's lugging that thing around like a backpack gives you an appreciation for scale in this game. So looks like we got heavy machine gun emplacement, laying down some suppressing fire. Weird boy charging on in, trying to cap this point. Ogrins now using their heads, slamming on into that weird boy, doing a lot of damage to him too. A nice little ground pound going off there. Weird boy using the warp vomit once again to kind of cover his retreat. Looks like he's going to get out of there. And you can see the Knob Squad is just trying really hard to get in, but we've got overlapping fields of fire with these heavy weapons teams, causing a lot of units to be suppressed. A moonwalking Sentinel getting right on out of there. God, I love those Sentinels. We've got a little bit of frag missiles here trying to cover their retreat, but still you can see that illonexxx really wants to take control over this victory point, using these knobs basically as a distraction. Both heavy weapon teams once again set up. These guys are going to have to get the heck on out of here right now, losing a couple of models now as these huge AMA knobs are just kind of chopping away at these guys, knocking them back, doing a lot of damage. Once again, the ground pound coming out. And here we have it on the field, the looted tank. This thing is ridiculous. Lots of like scrap metal and teeth and weird paint jobs and that sort of thing out there. So looted tank has got a lot of, a lot of good presence on the battlefield right now. As you can see, one shot right there wrecking what looks like 3 or 4 models here from this Guardsman squad. Guardsman reinforcing right now from this Chimera while trying to repair the Sentinel. And this looted tank is just putting more and more pressure here on these power generators. So bam, taking out yet another generator. Ogrin's moving out, perhaps some crack missiles coming out from this Sentinel here. Boom, taking a little bit of damage there once again. And now it looks like a little bit of reinforcements out here. Note, by the way, that our mech commander has been upgraded with the Def Gun. Def, of course, being Orcish for Death Gun. The Orcs have a known spelling prowess of, 90s rap artists and that sort of thing. Note, by the way, Chimera now leading the charge. Lots of ground troops. And it's at this point in the game where I start realizing why I'm so comfortable casting Imperial Guard, because just the look and feel of them, very company of heroes. Like, this is definitely sort of a Normandy assault. We've got bulldozers and tanks and lots of guys pulling up in the back. And okay, so much for this Walker here, but heavy machine gun squads, very, very traditional World War II kind of feel to this army. Meanwhile, the tanks are just firing away at one another. You can see that the occasional crack missile coming out of the Sentinel are really doing a lot of damage to this looted tank. Now the looted tank having to retreat. Another crack missile hitting that looted tank right in the front. It's very, very damaged right now. Just a few hit points left. That Sentinel moving up for the long-range hit. Oh, and he completely takes out the looted tank. Just a husk of that thing now, burning charred on the battlefield. And it looks like during the middle of all of that, that Ogre in charge, taking a couple of casualties but resupplying from the Chimera, was able to take care of that mech commander. So he's now dead in the field. Once again, just kind of firing some rockets here, trying to cover it. But these knobs, really, really tough heavy entry, moving on in. But it doesn't matter. Yet another ground pound out of the Sentinel, knocking all of those guys back. And by the way, amidst all of this, it is currently a 3 cap right now. cozNemOK is ahead 3 while he's just kind of fighting away, trying to hold on to all of this. In order to kind of stave that off a little bit, we do have the Slugger Boys trying to grab this. But the Lord General is just down there right now, holding off on his own. Not even using the Lord General in the middle of these big combat right now, but he's just kind of using him to cap stuff in the background. You can see lots of heavy bolter fire, Sentinel stomping away at the ground, Ogryns just slamming away at everybody there, constantly reinforcing because they are within the range of this Chimera. We do have a bit of a rocket barrage coming from these tank busters. These tank busters perhaps could be picking up their Mek Commander. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think right now they're all just kind of firing away right now. You do have the Nob Squad moving on in, just slamming away with their huge hammers, and the Guardsman infantry starting to take a couple of casualties, but again, just being able to resupply, overlapping fields of fire, and it looks like the Sentinel's moving on in to take care of this situation once and for all, slamming his foot down on the ground, putting a period at the end of that argument, and knocking back all of these tank busters, just trying to disrupt their continuous fire here. The Nobs are still just charging on in. These guys are tough as nails, doing lots of damage to the infantry right now. You can see that all of these guys just piling into that Chimera, and wow, gonna have to back on out because these Nobs really effective against vehicles. And it looks like they're giving up the chase for the time being, trying to pile onto the Sentinel, but that can always be a little tricky, especially if there's a ground pound on cooldown. Once again, backing away from them. Meanwhile, you can see down here in the south, the Slugger Boys are recapping that victory point, trying to hope to offset this a little bit, but it is still 2-1. cozNemOK is up 266 to 147 points right now. Sorry, 2-0 is the score at the moment. Hopefully these guys will be able to cap that any moment now, but that'll still make it 2-1. And Chimera now moving on up. I think, however, that Chimera dropped its payload out up here. Yes, it did. So Chimera, unfortunately, if it had some guardsmen in it, it could be dropping them off right now trying to cap this point. And by the way, our poor intrepid Lord General looks like he died kind of fighting over this victory point down here versus these Slugger Boys. Slugger Boys now having to retreat, taking yet another casualty. And unfortunately, I think this Chimera is just going to have to back out, having nothing really to do here. So, woo! Looks like we've got a little break of the action for the time being now. Just kind of Ogryns grabbing this central power point, that sort of thing. But things are looking up for the Imperial Guard today. Really nice, strong positioning here. You can see overlapping fields of fire once again on these heavy weapon squads. Imperial Guard, by the way, just still sitting around at Tier 2, whereas, of course, we do have Tier 3 for Ill-1 because he did have a Luda tank come out there. Looks like the Mek Commander jumping on in here right now to try and add some suppressing fire with his def gun, but unfortunately he himself is being suppressed by this heavy weapon squad right now. And really, he kind of looks a little bit goofy out there. He's feeling a little bit exposed, perhaps embarrassed that he just blinked into danger. Gonna have to get on out of there right now. We see the Nob Squad now charging into action, trying to do something about these heavy weapons team. But unfortunately, the other heavy weapons team providing additional suppressing fire, and a moonwalking Sentinel just decided he was going to move on in there just for a moment to put his foot down for a second, and now he's just going to tastefully back on out of there and just kind of breakdance by himself. Once again, artillery fire just smashing away at the Ork army. You can see all of these Ork Nobs being knocked back and just kind of dashed about on the rocks there. Lots and lots of heavy bolter fire, really slowing down these Nob squads, and just the rest of the Sentinel and the Guardsmen here just kind of pouring the damage in them. So it is still 2-1. Right now, illonexxx is at 66 points. He really needs one more victory point if he's going to do anything. But unfortunately, the Ogryns are even capturing this point down here right now. So it's about to be 3-0. It's really looking bad for him right now. We'll have to see, does he have any squads that can address this problem down here in the south? It's going to be Ogryns versus a bunch of Slugger Boys with burners. Meanwhile, up here in the north, we have all of the Nobs just kind of fighting things out here with the Mek Commander. 37 points left for illonexxx. Looks like cozNemOK is currently threatening a 3-cap right now. Really making his opponent lose the points quickly here. It doesn't even matter at this point, I think, if he pulls on out. We'll have to see what's going on down south. Looks like the Slugger Boys have managed to try and take care of this point for the time being, but it is right now 1-0. How is this going to play itself out? It looks like the tank bunches right now are being beaten up by the Ork Commander. We do have 1-0 are the cap points at the moment right now. Will these guys get this in time? Oh my god, 3 points left, 2 points left. We have 2 points on the field right now and it's tied 1-1. Whichever player grabs this right now is going to decide the fate of this game, or at least for a little while here. As you can see, all the Nob squads are just chasing around this Sentinel, but he doesn't care. He's a boss. Here comes the Ogryns threatening to cap right now. This cap will decide it. And now we have a lot of artillery blasts coming on here, along with the supporting fire of the Sentinel. The Ogryns are just going to sit here and tough and bear it, I think, and just take care of this victory point once and for all. Here they go, trying to get the cap. 2 points remaining for Ill-1. Will cozNemOK be able to get this one down? Yes, he does. It is now 2-1, and the points tick down for his opponent. So good game for cozNemOK, and definitely well played for his opponent, illonexxx. Once again, I am Harlequin. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, stay tuned for more games. Good night. Have fun. Good luck.